Yes.
There's some who say that maybe going forward, when you get your ID, you should be automatically become a voter. Would you agree with that? Do you think the process is, hard to go, register, hang a line, find out where you come from, all that? Is the process too difficult?
It's not. It's not. The only challenge is that even when that has been done, in the end, we will still have to realign so that you vote in specific areas where you come from. Because now you pick your ID, it may not exactly, people move, so they don't remain in one location and all of that. But I still think the way the election process has improved. If you look at it, you could walk to a polling station, and if there's no queue, in 2 or 5 minutes, you have left. I think that was simplicity to me. It was made so simple that you could walk and slightly be assisted, you could vote and go home. But I still agree with you because there's a lot of data about Kenyans. Yeah, both in M-Pesa. If you look at it, M-Pesa has more than 30 million people. Yeah. And M-Pesa has more, you have a lot of information about you that is captured about how when you register yourself. So why do you have this multiple registration that we have in place? Yeah. Sometimes you even ask, why should somebody not? Everybody, as get an ID, should be able to get a passport easily. Yeah.
Should be made simpler.
Yes.
Now, one of the other things is that, it took a long time for the presidential vote to actually be counted. And it seemed even when we were done with the other, MP, governor, senator, the other positions, we were still really slow on the presidential. Yet, interestingly enough, it's the one that's counted first at every polling station. There are some who say that going forward, we should consider splitting the elections. Have the president's election on a different date, maybe with governors, and then have another election and not bundle the 6 of them. Would you agree to that? Or what do you think is the reason why we seem to be so slow on the presidential one, yet we count it first?
I still find that that is an area for improvement, because in an ideal setup, by 12 hours after the voting station closes, that's at 6 p.m., that means by 6 the following morning, there should be no counting going on. Absolutely. All polling stations had closed 12 hours. So what remained is the movement from the polling station to the constituency tallying centers, and maybe that tabulation and all. But already, the polling, the result of the polling station had left to the polling station. So I think there's room for improvement, because if you look at democracies like the US, 8 hours after the election closes, they knew where the president was. So it is equally possible here in Kenya, because I'm looking at, when I look at the arrangement we had as a media in the presidential debate, and it only happened that maybe we were not organized as a media house, as a media
fraternity. Yeah.
Because, and maybe the communication that we will be allowed to do tallying was not communicated at the right time to enable pooling of resources and all of that. But in an ideal setup, that's the way, like in the US, where Fox, CNN will be able to call an election. It should be able to do that. It should be possible in this democracy, because if you look at it, we only needed 46,239 clerks. Yes, guys to pick that data and communicate.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up the issue of the media, because I had wanted to talk to you about that.
Yes.
One of the things that has been a cause of concern for many people is how the media conducted the elections. At some point, some media houses were tallying, different numbers at different points. Some were using counties, some were using constituencies. In some places, one candidate was leading, until there was even a joke. If you want to know which of your candidates is leading, just tune to the next one, utapata anaongoza huko na huku haongozi, and things like that. Do you think that, in terms of media looking at itself going forward, should we possibly have a unified tallying center where the same results are everywhere across media?
It's actually my hope that the next election in 2027, media should be able to pool resources and run one media talent center for all the industry. And I think that's very possible. Because you see now what every media was trying to do. One, the time was very short, so you pull journalists, you pull clerks and all that. There was no proper training of how they could also operate. And then the kind of resources we are deploying was also a problem. But I still think there's confidence that in the future, we'll be able to pull resources together and be able to do one talent center. And I think we can conclude this election in 2 days. Yeah, and enable the country to move on to... I think lessons have been taken, and we can now look at it and know where we could do better. So I still have confidence that in the future, media houses will be able to, because it's the same result. If we can come together in a presidential debate campaign, why should we not do
the same thing?
An industry media talent center for this election? It's my hope that there's an industry, because we have a vibrant media industry in Kenya. Despite being perceived differently, Kenyans still trust the mainstream media.
Yeah.
Despite that, social media plays a big role in this election.
Yeah.
Big time. If you imagine the role of Facebook Live in this election, I mean, almost every politician was able to stream and use it to communicate.
Yeah.
It didn't depend on there was less reliance on mainstream media to be able to do that. Look at the WhatsApp forums, all the way to the MCA. There was WhatsApp groups for dissemination of information across, all the way up. Part of it even disseminating propaganda across.
Yeah.
So you'll find that social media played a big role in terms of one is mobilization, and and it became a platform for sharing a lot of information.
And indeed it is. Yes. Let me ask you about the propaganda bit. Because one of the things that happened on social media was, at some point during the counting, I think everyone was getting all manner of information from everywhere. All manner of, secrets and, deep state things. And, this is what is happening. Let me tell you the true story, all that kind of stuff. It was so mashed up that everyone was winning until somebody lost.
Yes. but I think...
and the words were, it's coming home.
I was asking, what remained our role as a mainstream media?
Yeah.
Now that social media was everywhere. But I think we remain the only authentic source of factual information. Because all those information that was flying in social media could not be shared, on a mainstream media. So people knew exactly, unless it is shared. Just the way conventionally, people are killed, in social media,
yes,
everywhere. But it's only a mainstream media that can actually affirm you're dead when you're still alive. Because, people would malign you and use a lot of things. That was not possible in mainstream media. But I think we played a role in enhancing accountability also. If I look at it, what we were doing on the presidential debate, governance debate, and then many people, we hosted, like here in Kass, we hosted almost every aspirant for members of parliament in our region got an opportunity to, to use our media, both from the regions and here. So we provided a big platform for people to, put out questions, and enhance participation by locals also to ask questions. And we could say we contributed in the kind of leadership.
But do you feel like we got maybe overrun by social media in the sense that, for example, we saw in our newspapers and on TV that Duale had lost. Yet he had not lost. There was a story of KJ in Dagoretti that he had lost. Yet it actually made it to mainstream media. Some of those stories made it to a newspaper. Do you feel like somehow we got overrun by social media?
At some point, but I still think there's some lessons also the public, consumers of information, needs to not to take anything for the face value. I think we all have to fight fake news, whether we like it or not. and learn some lessons to know what to trust and all of that, because it can be badly misleading. Yes, and if you, even the instances where you put out that the mainstream media was able to pick such cases, I think it's, it calls that we need to improve our filtering of information so that we can be able to help people, distinguish between lies and facts. Yeah, because that is our big role as a media house. So I think in such cases, but in essence, you will get surprised that if you get to interview some politician, you'll definitely get some information that maybe those platforms in social media may not have allowed to. But some people were so popular in social media, but wait when the main election was done. So it's actually that was not
social media.
Yeah. So at times, if you ask like how many platforms that you were in WhatsApp groups and all of that, and whether it added value.
Yeah.
At some point, 10-20%.
Yeah, considering everyone is basically a media house in quotes, and can broadcast at will, like can go on Facebook Live, anyone can do whatever they want to do. Do you think that going forward, there are countries that have enacted regulation, especially when it comes to around voting time and things like that? Should we take the same route?
No, I don't advocate for such regulation. I think let's allow markets to mature, and let's build a culture of self-regulation, not imposed regulation, so that as we continuously educate our listeners and viewers and the rest, my thinking is that there will be no market for that distorted information over time when you're dealing with informed people. And that's why it's only a certain populace that maybe still needs more education who can be able to differentiate between those lies and facts being pushed in those propaganda. So I think from where we've come from, imposed regulation did not work. And in fact, anytime they were used, it was disastrous in itself. But gradual self-regulation capacity being built over time made a big difference. So I think where we matured to where we are now, I think it's a lot of progress. Yeah. It means we just need to consistently allow that. Because if I see our consumption for broadband all over the country, it's quite huge. Did it play a role in this election? Yes. Because if you look at almost the mama mboga in the village was in a WhatsApp group, and they were exchanging videos and all of that. So, if mobile operators would tabulate consumption of data over the election period, you will see unique results. Yeah.
We will. This was a close election by all accounts.
Correct.
Not just by percentages, even by the votes cast, even by, the difference between the candidates. I think it's about 230,000, somewhere there. And you can see the Senate is almost split in the middle. The, National Assembly is, playing around the same way. Governors are just about, 24, 23. It's very interesting. Do you feel like, with that kind of split, because some people say, okay, Dr. William Ruto has become president, definitely there's a side of people who are really celebrating, but there's another side represented by the Azimio movement that may not be celebrating. In terms of bringing the country together, what steps can we take in a country where there's such a, almost half divide?
Yes, that's a very interesting question, and people have a lot of expectation that William Ruto will take the lead to bring the country together. I don't have a lot of confidence he will do that. Yeah, I think you should allow me to also appreciate and congratulate him for this presence, this win. I think we need to give it to William. He's worked hard for this win. And I think he deserves this presidency. It's unfortunate that maybe the outgoing president, lost respect for being a statesmanship by refusing to acknowledge the win and kind of congratulating, despite having worked together and despite even being confirmed, not just by voters, but even
by the Supreme Court.
Supreme Court. I think that was a big loss of statesmanship as a candidate for our outgoing president. But I get the impression from Kenyans in the confidence, despite being 230,000. But look at the numbers of them from MCAs coming up, because now MCAs has a representation of across the country, and equally look at the number of votes, even if may not have delivered, it's a uniform representation across the country. Other than a small photo, I mean, if you look at 39 counties, getting 25% in 39 counties out of 47. If you use that as a parameter, then it was doing about 70% of the population. So I don't see the magic of the. I mean, I don't want just to narrow and look at the 230,000 lead as if it's not the representative of the country, but equally in terms of
when you spread it out, we see bits and pieces.
Yes, but I think based on the programs that the Kenya Kwanza will put on, I think which are inclusive of the entire country, I see us moving forward. Even the way Kenyans have respected the ruling of the Supreme Court. I mean, this is day one.
Yeah, people got back to work real quick.
Yes, what is that? Yeah, what is the alternative? I mean, what would have happened if we didn't have that respectful institution? Yes.
Yeah, that's a very good observation. Do you think then that the choice of government will speak a lot about that unity? His choice of government.
Yes. The Kenya Kwanza government, I mean, if you look at the kind of checks that people will be looking at, and looking at how, I mean, the narratives that they built in the campaign will be defined too much of how, I mean, the kind of cabinet they put out, how they sustain that confidence that they have from the populace or the voters who voted for them. There are big issues, about 10, that Kenyans will be looking at it, how they maneuver as a government. Like
they promised half will be women. They're looking at that.
Yes, Kenyans are looking at that. Kenyans will look at the quality of cabinet that they will put up, permanent secretaries that they will put up, and maybe what will be their first policies. What will be the first programs that they'll put out? Will it address the issue of the promised hustlers fund, which is that stimulus package to pull out some of the sectors of the economy? People are looking at fuel prices, cost of living.
Yes.
In the 100 days, how will they address that? Yeah, I mean, I expected that the president will be sworn on Tuesday, and maybe the monthly subsidy requirement for fuel would come in on the 14th or 15th following week.
On Wednesday, when go to 200 shillings.
Yes, that's a big problem. People are looking at how they will help, issues around health. I think, the promised subsidy on fertilizers may have to be shifted to the new financial year, the new year, because, I mean, there's no planting going on in the last season of the year. People are looking at how they will address farm inputs, which is one of the biggest costs. There's no way we can create employment and fight food security if we don't subsidize the farming inputs, fertilizer, feeds, so that the cost of production within the agriculture sector goes down, and possibly people are able to produce more. And so those are the big issues people are looking at. This guy, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance, manifesto, it's much about anti-borrowing. They didn't want too much borrowing. People are looking at what will they do with borrowing? I mean, our debt ceiling is way, way, way high. So what is it that they will do in the first 100 days?
Yeah, very interesting. We're going to take a quick break on that note. Our first break. We'll be right back after this message. Don't go away.
New siku hizi kwa station kama zote. News ikiisha, naweza watch Husbands of Kayole.
Naweza watch TV.
Baadaye unataka kuwatch nini? Lazima nihakikishe haangali vipindi chafu ama vinavyoendeleza vita na chuki.
The Communications Authority of Kenya, CA, regulates the broadcasting industry, promoting development of local content and ensuring responsible use of broadcasting platforms for national good, to give you and your family choice with a variety of content to enjoy. The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
Youth Smartphone Network netindo chepchepindo nemi barak ak inyorchi beit ne nyumnyum. Asinyoru fiber sim card igugulen kityo getfiber.com. Inyit details chekuk ak iyokte. Ibun agents chechok sim card akoi ole imi ako registanin. Furahia mtandao na Fiber Mobile. Fiber Mobile, truly Kenyan.
The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
Welcome back to the Opinion Box. My name is Levi Kass. We are here with Dr. DR.LAMAON. He is the CEO of Kass International, right here, discussing about governance and policy. Dr. 7 women governors, 26 women elected MPs, 3 women senators, of course the 47 women reps, a myriad of deputy governors who are also women. Do we need affirmative action?
Yes, we still need affirmative.
Mambo haiko sawa?
If you look at it, is that the affirmative action will even work for men at some point. So there is nothing else. So we still need it. Yeah. So I mean, let's not dispute it. But to me, I'm eagerly awaiting for William's cabinet, and I think he should actually give it to women.
Yeah.
He should give those 10 positions to women. Do you know what, Levi? The contribution of women to our economy, or to GDP, or to, I mean, general economic affairs of a country is way better than men. Let's give it to them. After all, they're the majority. There are more women than men.
True.
Check your numbers. And to me, look at where women have been given opportunity. Just look at the face of Supreme Court, having the Chief Justice and the Deputy Chief Justice. Do you doubt their performance?
No.
It tells you that women can do better. I've seen in corporates, mainly in the private sector. It's very surprising. I work in a group, in this group. There's almost 3/4 of our HODs are women. And their performance is way above. I think there is a lot to gain when we give women an opportunity. And we should do that. Yes.
We should.
My dad used to tell me, like, the reason why we are called gentlemen is that we are supposed to be wild people. So we have to be given a good name. But otherwise, we are very wild without women. Yes.
What do you think the Supreme Court ruling said about us going forward democratically? Not just in the fact that it's actually legitimized, Dr. William Ruto's, presidency, but also in the way it was given with a view to, how people will be bringing petitions before it in future.
I think they lifted the bar up to, and maybe this is something, maybe it's a work in progress. The standards they've been able to put is very high, which I think is good. But it's also to discourage kind of innuendos, some dramas, and all of that without facts, which I think.
Like come here and come serious.
Yeah, they even professionally, it will define what kind of cases they handle. I think that should be the basis. But above all, I think we saw they were very keen to detail, and no matter the ruling was convincing to everybody, I would still think that the judiciary and respect, not just in Kenya, but even globally.
Did it surprise you that it was unanimous?
No. You know, we at times think like judges live in isolation from all of us. We live in one country. So when this country doesn't work, it doesn't work for them.
Yeah.
They don't live in a vacuum. So when Kenya is banning it, ban for everybody. So I think, to me, they put the country ahead of everything, even their own lives. And I think I give it to them. That was a convincing ruling. You know, it was able to separate lies. You know, I mean, they remained within the law in all their deliberations, and I think that to me was a plus for this country. Somebody would think like it's costly maintaining a court to wait for one. I mean, given that it has appeared that in every election we have to end up at the Supreme Court, we hope in future elections we don't have litigants going to court. But I think they should do more. I still believe that there are two institutions which can help us fight graft in this country. One is the judiciary and the investigating arm of this country.
Yeah.
Yes, they would be able to. I mean, they have a lot within their mandate that they can help us even enforce Chapter 6, so that, I mean, sometimes in media we were being accused the other day when Parliament were being branded house of suspects, but we're keeping those suspects in Parliament. Yes, the reason why they're in, I mean, they're all on bail, I mean, on bonds and all of that.
Yeah.
That's why they're out. So it means something between the investigating arm of government, of justice and judiciary.
Yeah.
So if they do more, I think they will help law graft in this country.
Does it mean then that Chapter 6 about integrity and ethics was just a flowery chapter? Because initially people thought that chapter was serious enough that if you were even suspected of a whiff of anything, you would not set foot anywhere near public office.
That gives room how it is being manipulative. Every time people get an opportunity to manipulate it. And that's why, I mean, even people who were supposed to be serving a jail time are in Parliament. Yes. I mean,
yeah, true.
Why are they in Parliament? It means actually, the problem is it's purely an enforcement issue. People just don't want to enforce what
does that say about us, the electorate? Have we reached that point where we say, there was that story that, kila mtu ni mwizi. So just choose yours,
sometimes people want to say that don't feel for the voter because what they get is what they desire. But I still think that over time there's I mean, if you look at the way Hamas is voted out, another team is voted in, I still think the voter is also growing. And maybe, because if you look at it, is that the difference between the political parties' primaries and the general election. If you imagine if IBC was conducting the primaries, what kind of leadership we're going to get? Because also the confusion within the party primaries is also gives rise to that part leaders that we have.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the electorate are left with no option once the party primaries have been able to have cleared individuals to stand.
Yeah.
So what else can they do?
There's still this thing that bigger suit. And sometimes that brings unsavory characters into parliament because of the way maybe they got through the nomination process. But it's bigger suit a thing that will continue to given this election?
Yes.
Are we stuck with it for a while?
Yes, it will. It will. If you look at the wave in Rift Valley, I think was
it was
so massive.
It was a clean out.
Cleared everybody. I think that's an area we think there's need for improvement, so that we don't just. And I think IBC setup should actually be allowed to do primaries. If they do primaries, this problem will. I mean, these party leaders will be filled out at the political parties level. But now, once they just move with the wave of the party, we have less to grow. But still, I think there's been improvement. Let's give credit where it's due.
Yeah,
there's been improvement in the leadership.
Let's talk about the roles of opposition and government. William Ruto has said, doesn't want a government that's a mongrel. Hujui opposition inafika wapi na serikali inaanzia wapi. But at the same time, as president-elect, he has received a lot of delegations from all manner of parties, Jubilee, from the party Northeastern, from independent members, people saying, we are identifying with the president's elect's party. Does that negate democracy? Does it, annihilate the opposition? And then what does that mean in terms of when he's president, everybody wants to be his friend? Would we find ourselves in the same place again?
Yes, this will be a very interesting parliament. One, I understand where Kenya Kwanza is coming from, because they need majority of parliament. They don't have a choice. Otherwise, they will not be able to push the agenda in parliament. And there's no point where they will, the options are, you get some opposition guys on your side and push your agenda, or you allow the opposition to frustrate your agenda. So I tend to imagine that they don't have a choice other than to pick more, but we will definitely have a weak opposition. I don't see. This could have been very interesting. I was looking at, if you look at it even from Commonwealth and the current setup, if they use establishment based on Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, then you'll realize a very interesting mix in parliament. It means that one coalition would have more than, we can have a very interesting situation that was there in 2007, where then the opposition had more members of parliament in the House
than the executive.
And then you would find that in that setup, it would mean that the agenda of the ruling coalition could be actually be represented in parliament by an opposition leader as the leader of majority. But I think now, but with the coming in of post-election coalitions agreement being signed now that will tilt that. But without that, you realize that you could have a slight win of 1 or 2 MPs above this. But in the case for the speaker, this is a free for all.
Yeah.
MPs can vote left, right. After all, it's a great panel.
Yeah.
So, we would expect Kenya Kwanza to actually sweep the speakership from both Senate and National Assembly based on the current numbers, and even still control the leader majority. Because now, if you don't control the leader majority, then it also defines the main committees, the strong committees from the Housing Business Committee, maybe Agriculture. So it means the other guys will be left with PSC, PIC committees, but the rest, the main committees will go to the opposition, but to the opposition, which again, it can frustrate. These guys need to do a lot of legislation within parliament this Hustlers Fund with the reforms they want to do in health. The kind of subsidy they want to do for farmers needs supportive legislation on the floor, and they need numbers. So we will definitely have a weak opposition, which I think is not good for our democracy.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's not good for democracy.
Most people who run say, and even Kenya Kwanza said, it's not about positions. It's about, putting the face. Okay, it's a good thing to say for when you're doing the election. But after elections, of course, people then settle and choose positions. Yeah. One interesting position coming up is the one touted of Chief CS. You could say Prime Minister, really. Because but it will be, I think, Dr. Williams said, that there would be an executive order creating the Prime CS position. And of course, what he will do and all that. Takes us back to memories of possibly BBI.
Yes.
Then you wonder, when you look at the opposition, whether the term leader of minority is enough whether we should not enact an opposition leader's, office. Do you feel that we will end up at a constitutional moment inadvertently at some point?
Yes and no. But you've raised a very interesting question of that position of leader of minority. And I think that's where this need to relook at our 2010 constitution. Because if you look at it, just imagine you are elected by 6.9 million Kenyans, like Raila now. And you have more than 100 and something members of parliament. You have 23 governors. You have this kind of senators and all that. And then the governance structure of the country does not give you any space. Then you retire to rent house in Upper Hill, so that I think,
so you watch how things are done.
There is need to actually structure the leader of opposition with some parks around it, so that we have and I think it's even possible, by the way. If you were to ask me, I would advise, even with as weak as it is as a leader minority, actually we should get it. Just take, for example, that we have Raila back in parliament. And he can pick any seat, trust me. So at least he will have a house within parliament and even drive his agenda within the floor of parliament. And like a case now where he has to manage his troops from a rented room in Upper Hill. I think that's not fair for democracy.
Something to be discussed in the future.
There's need to do that. And where it's also state funded, where there's vehicles, there's security and all of that. But you're not elected by 6.9 billion people, then you remain in Upper Hill and wait for visitors. Do you think that is fair?
It's not really. It's a very, very unfortunate scenario.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's a conversation that maybe
there's need to
maybe dodged now, but eventually they'll have to get to it at some point.
Constitution can do.
Yeah. Even though, of course, they say it's not top of the agenda. In terms of the agenda, people talk, like you mentioned, Hustlers Fund, the fuel prices are up, people are talking about unga and all those kind of things. If you were in the kitchen cabinet there, what would you target first? What's most pressing?
There's a very interesting part. One is around the confidence that they have, because the big challenge Kenya Kwanza have is sustaining the confidence they have from the populace. And that's why those issues of the Hustlers Fund is very key. If you meet somebody in the streets that they are waiting for that 50 billion, yes, they're waiting for that cheap credit. They're waiting for that cheap unga. I think they cannot run away from those. They can't. They're waiting for medical care, the health care needs, which was heavily promised in the last election. So I don't think they don't have a choice. They have to find a way of sorting that and the cost of living.
I had someone from Kisumu say, tumekubali sasa naenda kuprint manifesto ya UDA. Isome vizuri.
So that they have something to do.
So they have something to follow and say, sasa, mlisema namna hii, wapi?
But I think it's the same thing I was having actually when I was thinking of advising governors. And I was like, if I was a governor, let's also learn why Jubilee was not elected, or Azimio guys were not elected, despite the heavy investment in infrastructure. So, you should be very careful when you are trying to do these capital projects that you're thinking, capital intensive projects that you're thinking, because that is what actually made Jubilee not to be elected.
Yes.
You should run programs that deliver money to people's pockets.
Yes.
It means investing in the economy, not in infrastructure. That is the unfortunate part.
Yeah.
Yes, because people say, yes, there are good roads. Yes, there is good infrastructure. But do they have money?
Yes, they had the deputy president-elect of the campaign trail.
In fact, I would look at it, because I'm looking at very interesting part of devolution. That's a great question I want us to discuss a bit. Is devolution is going 10 years now. It's ripe for a review, so that we begin a new 10-year with some different focus. The current governors are not starting from zero. Levy, they would help our counties better if they give up they should just give up this brick and mortar game and provide services. These things were buildings and buildings and buildings. If you look at it, when somebody discusses healthcare, they're discussing of buildings. They're discussing of buildings. They're not discussing of manpower. They're not discussing on medicine. They're not discussing on equipment and technology.
Yeah. I had Gachagua saying with the convention, what were kuli barabara?
Exactly. If you look at it, we don't even know what. If we have the right manpower in hospitals, well motivated, we have medicine, we have the right equipment, and we have the right technology. Actually, I mean, half of our words will be empty. So we don't need that brick and mortar business that you're trying to build.
Yeah.
So
there's a certain wave,
yeah.
as you speak about counties, that has come in.
Yes.
Where, I've seen Natembea, he had a meeting in Transoya, the governor, and, people were late, and he told them, when I call for a meeting, it's not 9:02, it's not 9:03, it's 9. And he told them to show cause why they were late. And, guys said, ni kazi. As I said, I'll be there by 7, follow me. I saw a rati in Kisii saying, stand by your vehicle. Killer driver. It was even copied in Meru the same way. I saw Wavinya in Machakos getting medical guys who don't provide equipment in hospitals, saying kama kuna pharmacy nanunua madawa from our hospitals, we are also going to close those ones. There seems to be a wave of watu wameanza na, and even I saw Sakaja releasing all motorbikes, although I don't think
that's a populist.
They have been given.
It's not a populist thing.
They have the voters, but
I look at it.
There seems to be a wave of there's like something around this thing. Is it sustainable? Because
my honest evaluation,
yeah,
and even from governance point of view, I still think yes, there's a wave of there's a new sheriff in town. You want to be seen to be doing something, but if they are not sustained, so that it becomes part of policy, then that's what
what the Supreme Court said.
Yes, in 5 days, people go back to normal. But I still want to focus because devolution has played a big role in this country, and I still think I want to still challenge our governors, majorly even our governors in Rift Valley, that slightly focus in agriculture. If they focus much in agriculture, because that is where the biggest bulk of our people livelihoods depend on agriculture.
Yeah.
I wish governors invest more in agriculture because education is not one of their functions. In fact, they play a minimal role of education, so they should actually invest more in agriculture. Agriculture is a devolved function fully, actually within the agriculture sector.
Yeah.
So they should invest more. And you see, this is the only thing that is if you look at land is one of the common denominator that everybody has. However small it is. And if there's an improvement in agriculture, food security is guaranteed. Yeah. So the cost of living will even go down. So governors should invest more in agriculture and leave these fancy things.
Yeah.
I look at offices in Wazingishu. I don't know what they're for. Because why? That's not. You go to a place called Ainapkoi, where the county government is represented by a building for offices. No, it should be, it ought to have been represented with a processing plant for milk or maize, potatoes. That is where the economy. That's what, because if you run policies that drives on processing of all the agricultural products in your county, you create employment. Yes, you create employment. You, through the same value addition, you see people have more disposable income within themselves. Why should we bring milk in trailers to Nairobi? You should process that milk. Actually, you should put out incentives that for any, that will enable people to consider processing all the products that come from the county.
Yeah.
Yes. Just imagine that if we could all process our coffee and tea in this country, that we don't export them in sacks and all that, that we export them only in packets. Look at the employment that we are going to create in this country. We need to stop this bulky raw materials export. of our produce, and put incentives in every county that you can only move a processed product.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, 2 last questions before you go. One is on expectations. There's expectation, of course, from 190, and we've talked about that in terms of what the expectancy changes. There's also expectation from troops. I saw Karen full, lots of people celebrating, and of course, many of them are hoping tapata kakitu kwa hii serikali. Last time, the President Uhuru Kenyatta tried to create the CAS position, mainly I think as a way of rewarding some, creating space for some of those people. The High Court ruled that it was, unconstitutional, although they remained as CASs. Do you see a problem or the William Ruto government running into headwinds with rewards?
Let's go back. What's a manifesto actually? Manifesto is promises. They remain promises. I think we have to agree that they remain promises.
Yeah.
So yes, I can see the level of expectation, both from his own troops and Kenyans. That's why I'm looking at it like he needs to carry the hustler, that common Mamamboka guy, confidence level in the first 6 months. You have to keep them alive. Yes. So I think that should not be one of his problems. But I trust William. He will circumvent that. And you will not even. I'm not seeing. The current endorsement he has does not give room even for that opposition. So I see him being able to manage that expectation, particularly the internal teams. What he just needs to manage is their greed. That's another problem. Yeah, because craft is not a very. The current confidence even Kenya Kwanza enjoys for media will only last you if they keep those promises. If they don't keep those promises over time, then all those confidence again is rolled back. Then you'll find now there's a lot of scrutiny, because I would expect still media to push for accountability, to still continue the oversight role, and remind us of, you promised that this did not happen and all of that. But I think I have a lot of confidence in our economy, that our economy will bounce back and then be able to, improve the quality of living for Kenyans.
Yeah.
So they have a big challenge. You see now they have a debt issue to resolve. They have a cost of living crisis to resolve. Yeah. We're talking about the subsidy for fuel. It has to be addressed because it's a big component of affecting inflation.
So basically, they have bigger fish to fry.
Yes. So they have big challenges going forward that they don't have a choice other than to be able to resolve and all of that. My view is how we can, and I think this should form part of our future programs, is to be able to look at the potential within our economy and help create forums for public participation, for people to look at what works in Bomet, what works in Kericho, what works in Baringo, and all of that, so that we carry the populace again and help. Because sometimes I keep asking yourself, we bang a lot of hope in our leaders, hoping that they know everything. They don't know. So I would encourage public that we even convert the current WhatsApp groups we've been having and use them to consistently highlight our projects that we want them to do. Because sometimes wananchi knows exactly what
is burning,
much better than our leaders. Sometimes maybe they don't get a forum, so that we actually put the lead resources in priority projects that gives us better returns than what we have. Yes, that's what I'm thinking. We will help so much if we can at times just deliberate, pick out 3 counties and see what works for these counties, and then through the same thing. Like I was telling you about policy, we're trying to build an enabling environment to attract investors to process every product that we produce in our counties. And we stop selling anything unprocessed. Then we keep more, we have more income, we create more employment within our regions and grow. But best advice, we have a lot of potential in agriculture. We've not done much. And sometimes I was looking at the way we have TTIs in all our region. without a farmer training institute. It's the opposite in our priorities. We need to have a farmer training institute in every sub-county. Yes, to train farmers.
To train farmers.
Yes.
They still work to do.
Possibly
It seems.
40% of our resources should actually go to agriculture. 40% of our county resources actually should be channeled to agriculture. Yes. That is the only way where we can build the.
So lastly, because we're out of time.
Yes.
If you are in Uhuru Kenyatta's camp today, how would you advise him to handle the next 6 days?
Does not have choices. He lost the statesmanship, but I mean, he lost the respect. I think he should just. I don't see why, whoever is advising him is doing the wrong thing. Because it doesn't matter. Even if he chooses not to come to Kasarani, the transition will move on. So, I mean, it's done a lot for this country. It's done a lot for this country. In terms of infrastructure.
What would be the best exit for him?
Actually,
or is it too late to get a best exit?
It's not too late. You should swallow that pride. Yes, Kenyans are regretting why they elected him. Yes, let it be the president that Kenyans elected. Take the initiative, call William and thank William. Yes. And come to Kasarani and hand over power. Kenyans will respect him. Because whichever way the country is moving on. I mean, you've seen what the military are doing in Kasarani.
Because Moi was not doing an easy thing.
Even how disorganized it was.
Yeah.
Moi got the courage to come to Uhuru Park and hand over power. Yeah? The way Uhuru respects the Kenyan military. I mean, he should come for that last card of honor. That will be staged for him in Kasarani.
Yes.
Yes. And hand over power and leave. I think,
Yeah, that's a good point you made. The way he respects the, because we have seen.
He has a lot of respect for the military. So I mean, you should just work there.
Military
And
functions.
the way, you earn a lot of respect if you come and say Paula to Kenyans. Can you imagine that? Even to thank Kenyans for the opportunity of being elected a president. Yes, that respect that Kenyans has put out. I think he lost that statesmanship, and I think I have respect for Raila, at least appreciating that. And I think he should move to the next level and even come with a function. That is, I mean, why is the president appearing that he didn't know the 10 years will lapse? Why is the president appearing like he was not aware that 10 years
He's
will
not
lapse?
just happy about the who.
No.
But is even
Kenyans made a decision. That's it. You see, that contract is with Kenyans, and that's why they are the only people who can vote for you to be a president of this country. Yes. I mean, and that is not about to change. In all democracies, that contract of engagement is done by a voter.
Yeah.
Yes. And he was not one of them.
Yeah.
So you should not have a problem whether he supported the
I agree with you. Even Obama was unhappy.
Exactly. Let's not see another. Trump did not appear to hand over.
Yes.
It does not mean that it stopped anything. We have two governors here who didn't turn up. Wambora did not turn up.
Yes.
Lee did not turn up. But the thing is that, we don't know whether he had anything, whether he needed to hand over the county flag, the coat of arms, and the others.
It's funny, Wambora didn't turn up after fighting so hard to stay governor.
14 years.
He had 9 lives.
So I think
it shows a
we need
respect
to
for the
appreciate our
office
country.
itself.
But I'm so impressed the way Kenyans have moved on.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed. Our economy was going down. And you could see in the streets today, MAP has even been reported of activity at the stock exchange, and the way Kenyans have come out.
Yeah.
That, the ruling just put them, and everybody is focused on the next Tuesday.
Moving on swiftly.
So I think we have a lot to celebrate as a country and look at what is our best. We are a blessed country. I think, and I hope Kenya Kwanza will move the country, ahead better than the previous government. An election cycle should give room for growth, should always aspire. We should move better from one election to the other. So, and that is exactly what I think that this election, even us as Kalenjins, or people from Rift Valley, I think there's a lot of lessons for us together. To have a lot of respect on our community, majorly on how they organize themselves in this election. I have a lot of respect for them. Across. I mean, the celebration went on. I was being told in Sotik that celebration went on until the early hours of this morning, and with peace across. If I look at the way we conducted our election up to where we are, I'm telling them that is our direction.
That's the direction.
And we're building coexistence across the country. Yes. So let's focus on the economy and begin with agriculture. Because if we sort agriculture levy, this economy will move forward.
Yeah. What's your final word?
I think I want to thank Kenyans and appreciate how we've conducted ourselves. I think let's maintain that standard. Let that be what the rest of the world define us as Kenyans. This should be the best way of how we conduct our affairs, and let's consistently put our leaders into account. Yes, let's make them work for us. Yes, and let's demand more. Yes, let's demand more from them. Majorly focus on our economy. Let's improve our agriculture. Because once we improve our agriculture, we sustain the stability of our economy. We create jobs. Yeah, we create wealth, and possibly, improve the quality of life for all of us as Kenyans.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure speaking to you, Dr. Julius.LAMAON, CEO, Kass International. Thank you for watching. Have a pleasant rest of the evening. God bless you. Oh, this is very good.